Welcome back, guys, to yet another World of Warcraft video for the War Within. This is a long-awaited video, something that I've been wanting to make for the last, week and a half or something like that. And it is a video talking about concentration for an alt army. I know that there's already a lot of videos out there from a bunch of other people that are talking about a bunch of different builds, but because, particularly in my community, also over on Twitch, because we live stream every single day, currently, make sure you check that link out, by the way. A lot of people have been asking why I do certain builds or what I'm going for. So right now the update is that I am at about, almost 80 level 70 plus alts, and I have a plan to set up about 118 total. I also have some mains and everything like that I'm working on, but people want to know why I do my builds and also how. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we do get into it, make sure that you guys drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel with all the notifications on, and also make sure that you check out Goldcapped down in the pinned comments and also in the description, because it's a great place to learn something about gold making. If you're interested, make sure you check that out and use code Sansiful for that purpose. But let's get straight into it. So on a lot of these alts, I am, pretty much all of them for now, I'm setting up tailoring and enchanting. There's also a lot of other good options for concentration usage in blacksmithing, alchemy, inscription, jewel crafting, and things like that. Not really leatherworking, but there's a good option in other professions if you're more interested in that. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be talking about tailoring and enchanting. Now, the main purpose of these alts is absolutely going to be enchanting, because enchanting is very, very versatile in the amount of different enchants that you can actually participate in for the markets. And I'm personally right now doing how many is it? 7 different ones. I'm doing Cursed Haste, I'm doing Fiery Resolve for a weapon enchant, I'm doing Crystalline Radiance for a chest enchant, I'm doing Algari Resourcefulness and Ingenuity for some profession tool enchants, and then I'm also doing 2 different cloak enchants. We're talking a Chant of Leeching Fangs and Chant of Winged Grace. Now, there are a couple more other enchants that you can actually do, but for the purposes of, this video, I'm talking about a couple of those. The main thing that you're doing for these builds is that you're popping into everlasting enchantments. No matter what you go for, when you're crafting an enchant, you need 30 points into everlasting enchantments. Now, if you want to do the cloak enchants that I talked about, well, then you're going to Nerubian Novelties and then 20 points in the territory trivialities. So that's a total of 70 points. Now, if you wanted to do for the Cursed Haste enchant or some of the other Cursed Ring enchants, well, then you're putting 70 total points into something like this right here, Cursed Chants. 70 points again. If you're doing a weapon enchant, then you're going this way for Fiery Resolve. Again, this is also 70 points total. And then if you're going for something like the Authority of Storms or Depths or one of the other ones, well, then you can go the Addon way. It's very, very simple. You're just going one particular line. Again, if you're doing Crystalline Radiance, well, then 30 points into Everlasting Enchantments, and then 20 in Addon Enhancements, and 20 in Bolstered Breastplates, which will give you the best possible way to do these enchants. Now, in a perfected setup, you'll be able to use only rank 2 materials. At this point, you'll be able to use only rank 2 materials and actually get to a point where you can use concentration to craft it at the highest rank. Now, you could go ahead and actually min-max your alts even more than this, than what I'm doing. It's certainly something that you could do if you want to. You don't have to, though. What I'm doing to start out these alts is I'm also buying or making them for myself quality 5 green tools. Now, when you are setting these alts up, you can actually, get enough artisan acuity to make these better. You could use some other alts for the purposes of making blue tools, maybe even the purple tool on an enchanter. And then I also bought the quality 2 enchants. You could also go for the quality 3 if you want to, because they're certainly worth it in the long run if you plan on doing this. Another reason why these particular builds are very good is because every single alt that you have will have 1000 concentration in each one. And as a primary thing to remember, it takes about 4 days for concentration to recharge. So that means no matter how many alts that you have, you're not going to be able to craft very many things with just concentration. So the health of a market like this is very, very long. And also, a lot of these particular consumables, especially in enchanting, these enchants are also going to be used in season 2 and season 3. So even if we get to a point right now where they're not super profitable to make, well, then it's still going to be worth your time to work on something like this for the future proofing aspect of season 2 activities. Now, you might be wondering, what am I doing right now? I'm disenchanting some items. Well, in enchanting, which is the reason why we're talking about this one in particular, I'm kind of waiting for the rest of the other professions to get some updates. Enchanting has a lot of catch-up points. Now, at the time of making this video, you can actually get 73 total points of shimmering dust on a brand new toon. And this is a lot, right? This is on top of the +9 that you get for your usual weeklies, so you can boost yourself to a great start. You can get all the points that you might need for a build like this, at least from a minimum perspective of being able to craft and enchant with quality 2 materials and concentration on top. And this is what I do on every single alt. You can get it out at disenchanting. Now, the way that you actually unlock these, which is a little weird on Blizzard's end, the only way that you can start getting this, because you can't just go ahead and, I'm going to start disenchanting and then immediately get these catch-up points. No, you have to go out and get your 2 weekly knowledge points from treasures. And these are random treasures out in the open world. This could also be disturbed earth, which a lot of people call wax. And sometimes it takes a couple of minutes. You get it within the first couple of tries. And other times it takes, 30, 40, 50 minutes. It's really, really annoying. But for the purposes of enchanting, it is really important because, again, at the time of recording this video, you can actually get 73 total knowledge points, which is too many knowledge points to not get. It's too good to ignore it. And so far, the last 2 weeks, this amount has gone up by 14. So I would assume that that's going to go up another 14 as every week goes by. But again, we don't really know the full scope of how much it's going to increase, but just make sure that you check that out. There's a couple of things that you can do to actually track your weekly knowledge points a little bit easier. There is a week aura for tracking your knowledge points. I'll be sure to link that down in the description below. And there's also an add-on called weekly knowledge points or something like that. I'll be sure to link both of those down in the description below so it's easy for you to find. But once you get those, obviously you can't get your weekly profession treasures until you've actually learned your profession. So make sure that you get that. The other thing that you have to do to be able to get these shimmering dust points is you have to do your weekly turning quest at the enchanting trainer. But I mean, you're obviously going to do this regardless because you're leveling up their profession. But once you've done that, you actually get to a point where you can start making a choice or making a decision for what particular enchant that you're going to go into. Now, whether or not these sell, well, they sell really, really fast. We're talking about quality 3 enchants that have decently high sell rates. If you do any of the ones that I mentioned earlier in the video, well, then you're going to be able to sell them. As for the profit margins, well, they're always going to be varied and always going to change. And whether or not you see it as something that's worth your time is completely up to you. So just keep that in mind as well. And as you're doing these ults, you're actually also going to be very much able to do a bunch of patron orders, and some of the patrons, the NPCs will actually provide mostly every single material, or some of the ones that they don't provide are going to be some of the cheaper ones. And then because of the rewards that you can get out of it, you can actually maybe find some that are profitable, which are going to be really nice to do alongside everything else. Now, if you look at something like this, you can see, we're looking at a Artisan's Consortium payout here, 5 Storm Dust and a Viridescent Spore we have to give for it. And you can get rank 3 materials and null stones and stuff like that out of this. Maybe it's not too worth it, not taking a gamble and something like that. And then here you see, we need to provide Leyline Residue and Storm Dust. We're not too interested in that either. And then here we have to provide all the materials. So nothing too great on enchanting, but it's still important to look out for. Now you can see I've gotten 61 Shimmering Dust. The only reason why it's not 73 is because I've already got some points here on this particular toon. But the other thing that we're going to talk about is tailoring. And the reason why tailoring is a good addition to enchanting is because as you're leveling tailoring, you're actually going to be making a lot of blues that you can then disenchant. The fastest way that you can get your Shimmering Dust, because they're not 100% from the blue disenchants. The fastest way that you would be doing that for the shimmering dust is picking up Dark Moon decks off the auction house. You can also buy the 8 individual pieces for a particular deck, and then it is, as far as I know, a 100% chance to get it on every single disenchant. If you do decide to go the route of using tailoring on your ult, well, then you're going to be saving yourself a little bit of gold, because every single cloth cuff that you disenchant, you actually end up getting some gleaming shards back. And the amount of gold that you save on that compared to how much you would be spending on the Dark Moon decks and then disenchanting, you don't get much value back in the same sense, because the rank 1s and the rank 2s of the refulgent shards are not worth very much. So this is a matter of, do you want to save a little bit of gold and spend some more time, or do you want to speed run it a little more and just do Dark Moon decks? As for the build and tailoring, every single one of my tunes, this one's a little all over the place, but the main purpose is to be able to get Sunset Spellthread. And when you actually get your Sunset Spellthread set up, well, the way that I usually do it is I put 30 points into Quality Fabrics. This tune is obviously not finished, but 30 points into Quality Fabrics, and then you would put directly 20 points into Duskweave Tailoring. When you learn this particular tree, you actually get one subspec that you learn immediately. So then you put 20 points into Dawnweave Tailoring, and you get your Sunset Spellthread. You could also go for the Daybreak Spellthread. That one sells pretty well as well, but the actual amount of profit and stuff might be a little bit different. I'm mostly just doing the Sunset Spellthread, but both are decent enough in terms of sell rates. And then the way that you would go about it is you use Quality 2 Duskweave Bolts, Quality 2 Gleaming Shards, and then Quality 3 Spools of Duskthread. If you do the build with the 50 knowledge points that I just talked about, then you are going to be able to push this into a Quality 2 situation where you can use concentration to make 2 of them for the whole entire thing. It's not really that insane on the tailoring front. It's not the best, but since I'm using tailoring anyway to make my process of leveling enchanting up a little bit better, well, it's worth my time. Now, just to show you guys a little bit, we're going to go ahead and use some of these knowledge points. But again, as for what build do you go for, I just want to make sure to let people know that the most important thing that you can do is don't put all your eggs into one basket. If you see one particular enchant at Quality 3 and you're looking at some of the builds and you're like, oh my god, this one is 6k profit, 7k profit, 8k profit, whatever it is, don't just dump all of your alts into one enchant, because you will end up potentially, you know, rolling yourself, because you could go into a situation where that particular enchant goes down in value, or maybe it gets too popular because of, you know, content creators or other people just finding the enchant very profitable. And because markets change all the time, you want to give yourself a lot of good options across the board, especially if you're doing a lot of alts. So make sure that you diversify as much as possible, which is one of the reasons why I'm also doing, you know, 7-8 different enchants. I'm probably going to do a couple more. But as for selling them, it's actually pretty easy. It's a very competitive market with enchants, but most of the time you'll probably have to repost things a couple of times, but it shouldn't be that much of an issue. Right now I'm just yapping a little bit so we can get towards actually using all of these points, because I just want to show you guys what this looks like. Oh, and I'll also go and get my books. This is another, actually, that I forgot about, because this is a little bit of a long yapping session, but that's kind of what I do. The other thing that you can do is make sure that you get to 12 with the Council of Dornegal, which is another reason why tailoring and enchanting goes so well together, because you can actually go over to the Quartermaster and get yourself the plus 10 knowledge points that are actually free, because they cost 50 artisan acuity, and because they give 10 knowledge points, they give 50 artisan acuity back. So if you have the 50 artisan security, it refunds 50s, turning it into something that's completely free, which is super, super nice. You want to make sure that you get, obviously you get those as well. It will make your alts a lot better. Now, whether or not you want to min-max any more besides this, that's completely up to you. This is what I'm doing for now. Generally, when I look at alt armies, I always say that even though maybe I'm kind of alone in this aspect, but I would say that quantity is usually a lot better than quality is when it comes to alt armies. Just something to keep in mind anyway. But I'm going to go ahead and get these last couple of points here to have a perfected build for a concentration alt, or at least what I would call the bare minimum. You want to get to about 60 in enchanting. And the reason you want to do that, I'll show you in a couple of seconds here. The reason we want to do that, which I actually forgot to tell you guys about earlier, is the best thing that you can start out by doing is getting ephemerals, enrichments, and equipment, which is where you can actually get all your gleeful glamours. Because this particular tree, the first thing you want to start out by doing, this tune is a little messed up because I did some stuff early in the expansion that was different, but what you want to do is you want to put 5 points into ephemerals, enrichments, and equipment, because that will unlock deceptive decorations, where you're then going to put 15 points into it, because this will unlock every single one of these gleeful glamours except like one of them that you learned from the trainer, and every single one of these will give you plus 5 artisan security, and they will also give you a knowledge point back. So because of the amount of actual recipes that you get, you actually end up with a couple more knowledge points that you end up spending here, but the bonus is obviously the artisan security that you can get from it, and you also level your profession along the way, so you might as well. Now the only other thing that I'm going to go ahead and do here is just get these couple of points. Boom. So now we're going to go in. After you've done that, you've put 20 points into here. You've done your gleeful glamours. You put in your 30 points into here. And the build that I'm working on right now is going to be for the formula for enchant cloak, chant of winged grace, winged grace, however you want to say it. It's probably winged grace. And the best build for that is going to be this one right here. These are all the points that matter for this particular spec. And if you ever wonder what's best for a particular spec, CraftSim, as you can see right above here, is something that's always going to be able to help you. It's a very, very good add-on that you should absolutely install it, because if you have this installed, even if you don't use it much, you'll be able to click on any recipe like this one and say, okay, well, specialization info. This particular screen will show you every single piece of knowledge point trees that will actually impact it. So you can see here, oh, well, okay, well, I need these 3, and then you'll see how much skill, how much less concentration usage, how much resourcefulness, ingenuity, whatever else. Very important if you're looking into any of these enchants. So you don't even have to look up, particular guides. You can just use that to see, okay, well, if I want to make this enchant that looks pretty good, what do I need for it? Well, CraftSim can tell you with specialization info. It's very, very good. But the other thing that you want to do, as soon as you've picked a particular route with 70 knowledge points here, the rest of your points are going to go into supplementary shattering. Now, whether or not you go for ingenuity or resourcefulness on your tools, well, that's kind of up to you. The way that I see it, if you're crafting something that has a tinderbox on the actual craft, then I would use resourcefulness over ingenuity. But if you're going for a craft that doesn't have that, it doesn't have a tinderbox on there, which is a very expensive item, I would just go for ingenuity. So for this purpose, right, for the Chant of Winged Grace, we're going for Ingenuity, which is why in Supplementary Shattering, my first points are going into Immaculate Ingenuity. But obviously, eventually, you want to max out resourcefulness as well. Now, before you craft, you want to make sure that you actually shatter an essence, which the cheapest one to do that for is Crystalline Powder. So you go ahead and do that and get your increased profession stats. The other thing that you can do is you can use a file of concentrated ingenuity, which will increase your ingenuity even more. And something important to think about is, as you're crafting on these alts, if you only log in every couple of days to craft on them, the good part is this will not run out. When you're logged out, this doesn't tick away. So you can use the same file over and over and over again for many, many crafts. But even if you didn't, these are only, like the ranked ones right now in EU at 20 gold, which is very, very low. But let's go ahead and do one of these crafts. Right now, as you can see here, we are looking at quality 2 materials. We're going to go ahead, and these are very important as well. Forged frameworks will increase your ingenuity by a certain amount. The ranked ones are super cheap on the auction house, and if you want to increase your resourcefulness, well, then you're using tempered frameworks. Again, for this purpose, because there's no tinderbox on this craft, I'm going for ingenuity. And then you can see here we need 328 concentration to make this, so we're going to be able to make 3 for a full 1,000 for now, unless we proc ingenuity and get a nice juicy refund. We'll see what can happen here. Oh, we got one ingenious breakthrough, which is very nice. Oh, we got another one, so we're going to go ahead and craft some more. We'll be able to make 5 total here, it seems. Oh, we actually got another one. Since we're not maxed out, this is actually a good thing to also mention. If you are missing a couple of concentration points, and you can see right now I'm missing 296, or I have 296 and I need 307. If you have some of these finishing reagents, the apprentice crafting license, or the stack of pentacle reviews, or the unraveled instructions, that will lower the total amount of concentration that you need because it increases your skill. So in a situation like this where you're a couple points away, well, you can use one of those. It does increase the craft cost a little bit, but not by much. Right now, these are probably worth, 200 gold, so that's super worth it. We'll do another one. And we also saved some storm dust there. So you can see right here, we ended up getting a total of 6 of these. And right now, the cost of one of these would be about, I want to say, 1,500. And the rank 3 of this particular enchant sell in the auction house for 8,500. So if we take the total cost of our crafting right there for 6 of those, and we'll call it, give or take 1,600. We'll just say 1,600. That cost us 9,600 gold to make, and we are getting a total of 51,000. Obviously, with the auction house cuts, it'll be probably like 47,000, 48,000. But it's a huge profit. And the reason why builds like this are so good is because when it comes to concentration, this will take a total of 4 days to recharge. As you can see right now, today is the 5th of October, and this on CraftSim, it says, okay, well, on the 9th of October, around the same time, you can see, this will be recharged fully. That's the reason why this is so lucrative, because it's heavily time-gated, and that's one of the reasons as to why having an alt army will be even better, because imagine if you have 100 tunes that can do this. Now, obviously, every enchant and the amount of profit that you're going to be able to get on these will be very varied. Even if you don't proc any ingenuity or any, resourcefulness or whatever it is, a lot of these enchants are still going to be profitable because you're crafting with lower crafting materials. And a lot of people worry about, oh, but what if there's so many people that do this that we get into a position where, the enchant's not going to be profitable because it's only concentration crafters that are crafting here. Well, then that particular market was never going to be good in the first place. What we've been able to see these last couple of weeks, even right now, is that these enchants are still going to hold their value and be profitable for people that are max build crafting them. So they're crafting them with in the most expensive way. They're mass producing it. Maybe not this particular enchant, but certain other enchants. And because of that, that will actually keep these prices very high because there's enough demand to keep that up. And even if we get to a point in maybe a month or two while we're waiting for Season 2 to come around where they're considerably lower, well, then you can hold on to your ults or prepare more ults for the time that Season 2 rolls back around, because a lot of these enchants are still going to get used. Just like Dragonflight, we are most likely not going to receive a whole new slate of crafted consumables and things like that. We're probably going to be reusing a lot every single major patch. There'll probably be new recipes and things like that we can actually collect, but for the vast majority of stuff that people are going to use, it'll be the exact same stuff. So they're going to bounce back and be even better, even if they get to a point where they're not really useful, which I doubt that's going to happen. But I hope you guys enjoyed this yapping session. I know this was a lot of information to take in, but I also had a lot to say when it comes to this particular build. I might have missed something, so if there's anything that you guys would like to add onto this, make sure that you drop that down in the comments below. There's a lot of different ways that you can min-max the potential of a concentration alt. You can collect one-time treasures, you can get your cash books, you can do all sorts of stuff, and that's all up to you for how much you want to do with the amount of alts that you have, how much time you want to spend on each one. That's completely up to you, but this is the way that I'm doing it. And again, I'm doing a lot of different enchants, as I mentioned earlier. So if you guys have any questions, make sure that you leave that down in the comments below. And make sure to check out all the resources that I talked about in the video as well. That'll be in the description. And again, if you guys watched all the way to this point, make sure that you type Pringle, because the name of this character, this tune, is called Pringle Troll. So type Pringle down in not the description, down in the comments below if you watched until this point. I would greatly appreciate it. And then I know that you watched all the way to this point. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.